Without question, this has to be one of the best reverb pedals I've ever had a chance to use. You might be thinking, what makes this so special? The fact you can get different reverb tanks for it. You can mount these into your pedal board. Let's see how it sounds. Welcome back to the channel, folks. My name's Shane. This has got to be one of the most unique and best sounding reverb pedals ever. Hands down, it actually outclasses the reverb in my amp, which I'll show you in this video. Let's check it out up close. Here's the pedal up close. Now, one of the awesome things about Anasounds pedals is the fact, yep, that's real wood. They've etched that or sort of engraved it somehow. I think it looks pretty awesome. Let me know what you think of that. So, it has 4 main controls. Now these two are pretty much like which frequencies you're going to hear coming in on the delay. They're not adding like a regular bass or treble sort of control to the signal. It's low and high end. So if you turn this up, you're going to hear more high end clang in the reverb sound. If you turn it down, you're going to hear less. And same with the low end. It's pretty cool. You get this to sound pretty much like a deluxe reverb or Fender Twin, that kind of reverb as well. It really sounds, well, I reckon something special. So we'll get into the video in just a moment. We have 2 controls up here. We have an out and we also have a mix. So this is kind of like the wet volume, as in how much you actually want to send to your effects loop. And this one is the mix between the dry and wet signal. So they're kind of similar in some ways, but depending on how you have them, you can get a totally wet signal, or you can have more of your guitar sound with it this way. It's a pretty unique sort of setup. It took me a moment to get my head around it, but I'll show you that in the video. And then we get this toggle switch in the center. I'm going to save that for the video. Hooking this pedal up is really straightforward. It comes with the RCA cable. So these two go to the actual tanks, which I'll show you in just a second. And these are basically in and out like your regular pedals, which go to your effects loop, or if you want, you can run into the front end. I'm going to be using it into the effects loop, and it runs on 9-volt DC. Here's the small reverb tank up close. As you can see, 3 reverb springs on the inside, so this is the real deal. And this isn't much bigger than, say, a can of Coke laying sideways, this one. This is called the Le Bon, which is the small. And as you can see on this side, that's where you hook up the RCAs. Now, in comparison, let's take a look at one of the larger ones. This one's called the Le Brute. Well, it's probably pronounced a whole lot better than I just pronounced it, but it's a whole lot bigger. And I think it's, yeah, it's still 3 springs, but it's much, much larger. So we're going to get a little bit more dwell, and you'll notice they've got these little rubber feet. You can take these on and off nice and easily. It also comes with the screws, so you can mount this under a pedal board if your pedal board accommodates it. A massive thanks to Anasounds for sending this out. I really appreciate it. This is a really great pedal. I'm going to put this in my top 10 of 2019 already, hands down. This is one of the most unique pedals and one of the best sounding reverbs in a box you can get. If you've got a pretty lackluster reverb tank like I do in my Marshall, for example, something like this would be fantastic. Some amps don't even have a reverb tank at all. I've got a couple of these smaller Joyo amplifiers, no reverb tank or anything involved, not even a digital one, but they have an effects loop. So running something like this would get you some pretty awesome results. If you'd like to find out more about this, I'll post all the links on screen and in the description below. Let's get into it. Let's kick it off. I'm playing my Fender standard Mexican Strat. This is all stock into my Marshall DSL 40 CR amplifier. We're gonna start on the clean channel and then go over to some crunch tones as well. There's 2 reasons I wanted to use this amp. One, it's got a built-in digital reverb, which is a little bit lackluster. It's maybe the weak point of this particular amp. The fact it also has an effects loop makes it perfect for testing out this setup. Now we're going to start with the small spring reverb back here as well, then we'll go over to the large one also. So here we go, it's the clean tone. We're going to go neck and middle pickup to start with. Nice dead dry clean tone. Pedal on going through the effects loop. Now that's pretty subtle, but I already like what it's doing. It's taking off that sort of bland edge. All right, let's turn up the high, also turn up the low, so you're going to hear more of the high end frequencies kind of dwell out now as well. Here we go. Beautiful. Now there's two different types of mix controls. The one on the left is kind of like the wet sort of output. So how much is actually going to the amplifier? It's a little bit confusing. This one is the wet dry mix of the signal going into the pedal. So you can kind of get it to work one of two different ways. If you want a wetter sound, you can simply turn this one up, and now it's going to sound a whole lot different. Let's take a listen. While I still have the small tank hooked up, let's do a quick comparison clean against the amplifier reverb. Like I mentioned earlier, the reverb on this amp isn't fantastic. I mean, it works fine, but it's very, very subtle, even with it dimed all the way up. So this is the amp, dead clean again. Pedal. Amp reverb all the way up. So as you can hear, not a lot of dwell and not a lot of mix. So you can get this pedal to sound very, very similar in terms of its mix level, or you can take it to the next level and kind of crank it up even further. What I might do now is just turn the mix down a little bit here. Let's see how this sounds in comparison. So this is the pedal. Sounds pretty cool. Let's try the crunch channel of the amp, and I've got the pedal set up exactly as it was. This is bridge and middle. That's the real deal, man. That's that spring reverb sound with it off. Just dead dry. Much prefer having always a little bit of reverb in my signal. All right, let's change tanks and put on the big one. Over to my Tokai Love Rock electric guitar. It's a Japanese-made Les Paul style electric, and I've got the pedal set up exactly the same, but we're over to the larger tank, as you can see behind me. So let's give this a shot. This is bridge pickup. Here we go. Sounds awesome. I dig it. All right, let's mix up the EQ. I turn the low down, turn the high all the way up, turn the mix up a little more. I just turned my tone control off, didn't I? I did. Here we go. Probably got a little bit more dwell. I don't know if much else has changed tone-wise in terms of the tanks I'm talking about. It just feels like it may linger around just a little bit longer with the bigger tank. So yeah, pretty cool. Let's try it one more time. Yeah, all right. So let's try and dial in some sort of weird ambient tones. And now for some crazy wet reverb tones. Let's give this a shot. Yeah, all right, cool. That's fun. It still sounds like it's just going there. That's awesome. Let's check out the toggle switch in the center. It's called spring saturation, and what I've worked out is it relies heavily on this control over here being the wet volume. So I'm going to play it in the up position and then show you how it sounds with it in the down position. So here we go, this is up. So pretty long dwell, all that kind of stuff. Here we go. Well, there you go. So that kind of sound isn't for me, but you can definitely get into some crazy territory with this pedal. No doubt about it. For me though, toggle switch up is good for a boring old blues guy like myself. So what I'm going to do now is set it up to how I like it to work with this particular rig the best for an overdrive sound. So I'll do that now. And now I've got it set up for more of a simple sound for the kind of music that I would play doing blues and all that kind of stuff. This just works great. Have a listen. So it's just there. Cool. Thanks for watching, folks. My name's Shane. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. If you lasted this long, please give the video a thumbs up. I really appreciate that. So what are my overall thoughts about this? Is it better than most of the reverb pedals I've had a chance to test? Yes, absolutely. And the reason is, it's a real spring reverb. It'd be like putting a real spring reverb in your amp over one that doesn't have it. Of course, it's going to sound great. Now, the one thing to remember is this is going to sound a whole lot better in the sort of setup that I was running it through the effects loop. You could probably also run it straight into the front end of the amplifier, but for my money, running it through the effects loop is where it's at. I love the fact you can just turn it on like a regular pedal. So you have this on your pedal board and have one of those tanks under your pedal board or wherever you want to put it, and you're good to go. Nice and simple. I think that's great. Like I said, it comes with the screws for the tanks as well, so if you can drill a couple of small holes, you've got the screws and the washers, all that kind of stuff to screw them into the actual, you know, pedal board or however you want to run it. That's pretty wild. Just so you know, if you're new to the channel, I've tested hundreds and hundreds of pedals. I'm very rarely blown away by anything, and when this turned up, I smiled. I knew, man, this has got to be something special. Having the actual Reverb tanks, being able to get different sizes. There's also a larger one than these two as well, but they were nice enough to send two out. I think that's just fantastic. So just quickly, I'll show you the small tank versus the pedal height, so you can get a sense of, you know, how small this one actually is, and it also, that's the other side of it right there. So it's nice and easy to fit. Most people will have space somewhere they can mount this on a board, or maybe even the back of the amp, or however you want to run it. So it's essentially a real reverb pedal. It doesn't get any better than this. There's some great digital ones out there as well, and I've owned a few of those, but they didn't sound like this. Yeah, it's pretty cool. If you'd like to find out more about the Anasounds Element reverb pedal, I'll post all links on screen and in the description below. Yeah, what can I tell you? I loved it. Let me know what you think of it. If it sounded good, if it sounded better than the actual amp reverb, let me know. Thanks again. Catch you soon. See ya.